John Durham's testimony, saying that the Crossfire Hurricane investigation and the errors that were committed by the FBI, which were numerous, he calls it sobering. It was that the FBI has to fix its problems, and it's not simply a training issue. It goes deeper than that. So this was pretty damaging testimony so far about the FBI and the FBI's conduct.
As we said in the report, our findings were sobering. I can tell you, having spent 40 years plus as a federal prosecutor, they were particularly sobering to me. A number of my colleagues who spent decades in the FBI themselves, they were sobering.
You don't start an investigation with a presupposition beyond a reasonable doubt that the actor conducted himself or herself nefariously and with bad intent. You seek to find if that is the case by facts that you develop. That is not what happened here, and that's why Durham says he is sobered by this investigation of Crossfire Hurricane. He may be sobered. I'm shocked.
Your report is not just sobering, as you stated. It's outrageous and deeply troubling. Can you confirm these several main points that it found? The FBI did not have an adequate basis on which to launch Crossfire Hurricane, correct?
That's correct.
The FBI failed to examine all available exculpatory evidence, correct?
Correct.
FBI leadership continued the investigation even when case agents were unable to verify the evidence, correct?
That's correct.
The FBI did not interview key witnesses in Crossfire Hurricane, correct?
Correct.
And individuals within the FBI abused their authority under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, correct?
Correct.
They went in there and they knew that there was information, the FBI did, that would exculpate, that it would be exonerative of someone, and yet they ignored that information. They chose not to look at it. They chose to pretend that it didn't exist. The FBI is not a grand jury, and a grand jury does not have to look at exculpatory investigation. But the premier law enforcement agency, that's what they tout themselves at, has to.
The problems identified in this report, anybody who actually reads the report and the details of the report, the documented portions of the report, I think would find that the problems identified in the report are not susceptible to overnight fixes. As we said in the report, they cannot be addressed solely by enhancing training or additional policy requirements. Rather, what is required is accountability, both in terms of the standards to which our law enforcement personnel hold themselves and in the consequences they face for violation of laws and policies of relevance.
So what he said, it's not going to fix itself. It's more than training. It's institutionally based.
They've become politicized. They've become an organization that is really doing the will of a political party, in this case, the Democrats. Merrick Garland is a puppet of Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a puppet of the left. The FBI has been corrupted by these activities. Crossfire Hurricane was a hoax to begin with, a hoax to end with. It led to Mueller. It led to all these things. And this allegation, ridiculous, that Trump was an existential threat to the United States.
Here's another one. The FBI, this is huge, folks. The FBI continued the investigation, even though when case agents were unable to verify the evidence. So the evidence could not be verified as correct or true or trustworthy, and yet they continued the investigation when the evidence was falling apart.
This is another part of the Durham report that is so shocking rather than merely sobering in my estimation. You find evidence that you can't verify. You can't determine whether or not it's in fact the case. You can't substantiate it. And yet you say, forget it, ignore it. Just press on. Just keep going and go forward regardless of whether the evidence is there or not. Why would you do this unless you had a corrupt political motive and corrupt political intent?
And there was another thing that was said by Durham. I thought that was unbelievably damaging, Andy, and that was, he said, the FBI did not interview key witnesses in Crossfire Hurricane, and individuals within the FBI abused their authority under the FISA Act, which is the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. And his answer to that was, yes, that's true.
Back to what you were saying, if you hear, you know that there may be evidence in the possession of a witness, and you choose not to interview that witness. You say, I'm not going to bother with that. You know what that means, Jay? I just don't want to hear what you have to say because it doesn't follow my playbook. It doesn't comply with my agenda.
This is institutionally corrupt. So you got to rebuild this agency. So in the next election cycle, whoever the president is has to get in there and literally clean house at the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Clean house on the leadership.